Thank you so much, Revathi, for joining us on a podcast at Dawdle. We're extremely delighted to have you. A seasoned leader, have worked across various industries, have taken care of various functions.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's probably my first experience on a podcast. So forgive me if I make mistakes. I think if I have to begin, it's been a 20 years of a lot of ups and downs throughout the journey, working in the IT industry, working through a lot of bell curves, working through a lot of different leaders and managers and learning the difference between the two, having the opportunity of working with amazing set of people in this world globally. Yeah, I'm here to share my experience. A lot of them will come from my personal connections with people. And I'm to put it simply, I'm more interested in the human angle to things than the technology specific angle to things, because at the end of the day, we're all here as humans and we are the reason technology also is here. That's how I look at it.
Absolutely, ma'am. I will very quickly touch upon the first point on which we want to take your insights on is you have led agile delivery in a pharma industry and wherein, silico trials, digital formulation platforms and real-time PAT systems are basically emerging. So from your operational leadership perspective, what are the biggest hurdles that you see in bringing these from a pilot to an scaled adoption stage while maintaining sure that the regulations are being, in place?
Yes. So technology penetration today is become a necessity in all industries. So pharma has not been very far away from it. It depends from organization to organization about the detailing to which this particular penetration occurs. If we're talking about global organizations, they've been more successful because they utilize AI to help them understand the human ailments, give them an idea of understanding how these ailments can be rectified through the current systems that we have, what combinations might be used. So AI has been very enabling in such spaces. However, when we look at the technology side for a pharma industry itself, they are superficially, yes, AI driven. Underneath the technologies that they use is still very ancient. So that's where, people like me still have jobs and opportunities. We get to be a part of understanding the industry. We get to be a part of how we can bring in a more robust rebound to the current technologies that superficially is very AI driven, but on the background, we're still looking at a C sharp or C++ in the, technology language use. So we're trying to see how we can minimize the transformation to make it a good outcome for the end result of the user as well.
Ma'am, tell us a few use cases of AI that you are seeing in the pharma industry.
Sure, sure. So I think the first and simplest use case I can tell you is I think most people have put it up on Reddit these days where somebody was not getting a diagnosis from any doctor, but they put it on ChatGPT and they got a response to say this is working for me, and it's a result that worked. ChatGPT today has generative AI, if I have to say, has become an intrinsic part of our everyday life, and researchers prefer to use it for data mining. They prefer to use it for analyzing the data because in this industry specifically, there is heaps of data. There is heaps of data globally as well. If we take a chikungunya or a dengue, I mean, I'm mentioning these two because that's the disease that is currently rampant because of the rains. If we talk about these two specifically, in India itself, if we look at the data pool, it's humongous. How do you identify and differentiate the kind of age groups, the kind of areas and the kind of water bodies that are causing all this? I think that kind of data mining is very easily discernible use case for AI. The other simple use case that I can tell you is my symptoms, which is not a good use case, which is also another negative side of ChatGPT. I have these symptoms. What could be my problem? Well, the first thing that it will lead you eventually is to cancer. So do not depend on those things. I'm giving you real time, use cases. So do not fear that, everything that it says is true. There are doctors, there are educated people on these things. So leave it to the experts.
What role does technology plays in a pharma sector? Like, what are the different domains in which technology plays a role?
So again, like I said, this is one of the data mining use cases I gave you. The other would be if we are to talk about a more serious situation, we're talking about the reconstruction of, let's say, a broken jaw. If we are trying to reconstruct it and we're a doctor is trying to have to build it from scratch, if he has the support of technology, how quickly can he do that, keeping the facial features of that person as close to the original one as possible. Looking at pictures, like if you feed the picture of that person and then try to recreate that jawline, which is probably broken, it will help in real time. The other easy use case that I can think about, I mean, of course, surgery is one of them. The other would be definitely the most penetrated disease today, which is cancer. Oncology uses a lot of targeted responses to targeted oncology issues, which is something that we can definitely say that technology will really help in the long run. We might not be able to eradicate cancer. If we do, well, wonderful. But this is at least is reducing the amount of negativity or the fear that's associated with cancer.
Right. And ma'am, also for clinical trials and for drug development, the role of AI, I've read that AI is also contributing there. Would you like to throw some light there, ma'am?
Yeah, like I said, I just told you in oncology, let's say we're talking about a person who has autoimmune as well as a particular kind of cancer, which is very rare. How do you ensure that both of them are tackled by not causing more trouble to the person? Like, we don't have certain diseases in India, a very prominently known like MS and all of those. Multiple sclerosis is a very well known issue in the US where the body suddenly starts deteriorating before time, right? The body stops functioning. Some of the body parts stop functioning, muscles stop, and all of that. So, if we can create targeted responses, how do we do that? Where do we target? What do we discern the mRNA or the DNA to give us that particular strain that will help? Who can get into that detail without disturbing the actual human being? Well, technology can, right? So, we can use those technologies for this.
Ma'am, where does Indian pharma industry stands if you compare it with the US?
Well, if we talk about Indian pharma industry, well, I will applaud that we did come up with a COVID vaccine as fast as the rest of the world. So we're not very far away. But never forget the red tape that we live with, which is probably why we have not been able to take 10 steps ahead from the rest of the world. Honestly, as a country, we have everything that every industry needs. We have the manpower, we have the data pool, we have the capability of data mining and the technology to support it. But we just lag behind with bureaucracy. So I would leave it at that. I don't want both of us to get into trouble, you see.
I mean, India is long known for, developing generic drugs. So Covaxin was something that, we kind of discovered and we kind of send it across the world, which
Yeah.
actually helped save the lives of so many people. So if we can develop Covaxin, I think we can also be a pioneer in the R&D space as well in
We
terms of.
we are. In fact, if you look at Biocon, that's a good example to tell you that we are definitely good at this. And we have, in fact, the history to support us, right? We have our own different forms and uses of medicine. Our own home remedies that we use are some of the easiest ways we can tell you that our medical system has been within our own bloodstream for a longest time. We also have Ayurveda, we have Unani, we have, the English medicine is actually newer to India as against the our own systems that we have. So if we dig into those, we probably will have all the solutions. We just don't, and we are not allowed to dig too deep also there. So you see.
Great, ma'am. So this is nice. Now I will touch upon a bit on your experience in the banking sector.
Sure.
So you have been into the banking sector. Would you like to talk about a few use cases of new age technology which is helping streamline processes there?
Yeah. So if I look globally, especially the banking industry, if I have to speak, I think we are definitely a few steps ahead from the rest of the world in terms of banking. And I'm very proud for that because the way the digital penetration has brought India together, the work that NCPI has all done for us and the digital India that we live in today is definitely a global forefront when we talk about banking. We also can look at simple use cases. For instance, I am at a restaurant. I pay from my Google Pay for the meal. There is an issue with the meal. I have a chat GPT telling me that I will look into this and I will refund you if you send me pictures.
Yes.
That is the simplest use case I can tell you. I don't think even Amazon can do that without a human interference, right? Today we have a Swiggy or a Zomato doing it for us, which are again Indian companies which use technology at the very best. So, that being said, if we talk about the actual end to end banking systems that we have, keeping the nationalized banks a little aside in this case, if we talk about the non nationalized banks specifically, they are much, much ahead in the integration of technology. I have not stepped into a bank, I think, in the last 10 years. I didn't have to. Even my home loan was done from home. My paperwork was all managed from home. I don't use checkbooks anymore, unlike my parents did. So everything is digital. Even if I have to increase my credit card limit, I don't have to produce any documentation. They have access to what they need and they just do it in a blink. So I think that should tell us what great technology integration can be done if we give it to the right sources and right support in every field there is to be.
And while you're implementing any technology, say to be banking or pharma, there are a lot of enterprise level risks which are involved, be it talent, governance, or security. Would you like to throw some light on that? Like, what are those risks like, and how should leaders address that?
So I think it is a both top down and a bottom up approach, because when we talk about definitely about risk and compliance, each area has a different compliance unit that they have to deal with. And of course, auditors will come into both spaces to ask you, how did you do this? And you can't produce things out of thin air. So it has to be very robust. It has, and given that these are all, virtual environments we're talking about today, we don't have physical servers that we access that much. Everything's on the cloud. Definitely cybersecurity comes into play, which becomes very important for our approach. I think the easiest thing that I have done and worked is always keep a paper trail of the activities that we perform. This is something I learned from a very old organization that I worked with previously, which said if it's not documented, it did not exist. Which is a very good thing to learn for all of us in everyday activities as well, right? If you do not have an email that supports your action and you're doing, is this risk worth taking? How much of a risk appetite am I willing to take? What is the negative impact of this risk? These are certain basic questions we ask. And the compliance aspects, well, we have enough documentation for us to break our heads when it comes to compliance. So I'm not going to go deep in that because banking comes with its own. So does pharma. There are enough organizations doing those activities and they do annual checks to make sure we are in line. I think the bigger aspect there is it's all about the risk appetite the organization is willing to take. As a leader, I'm willing to take, because even when I'm hiring, I am putting the organization at risk. If I'm hiring a wrong person, is that a risk I'm willing to take? So it goes down to that deeper level about who you bring into the organization and what decisions you take for the organization, both.
These days, inside banking, we see a lot of coming in. Customer experience पे बहुत focus है आजकल, especially inside the banks.
Yeah.
In the pharma industry also, we see the engagement with the doctors, now has changed a bit. Could you
Yes.
take us through, how the things have evolved over a period of time in terms of customer experience and doctor engagement?
Well, I think the customer is king concept essentially came to India after we went through the call center phase, I believe. Till then, customer was just customer, right? They were not king. Like, hai mere paas, to here it is. Nahi hai mere paas, to jao bhad mein. Literally, that was the response. Competition in the another organization competing, which is taking care of my upkeep. Somebody's always there to tell me, you know what, I can do better than you. So there's always somebody who's one up. So to keep up with this, to ensure that they remain on top, the first thing they have to do is customer experience, because that's the only way a customer will return. So that being said, the penetration also, I think, began only 10 years ago, if I have to be precise, because if you see how a regular local chai wali dukan that used to be has become a big chai wali chain today, that is good explanation to tell you how customer experience has become so important to run it as a corporation. Why is it run as a corporation? Is because you have to have an SOP customer. If you're serving it the same way, you will not attract the same crowd. And again, a chai again has gone from a 5 rupees to a 500 rupees chai as well. Yeah. So that journey itself is what the penetration should explain, that it is the matter of capturing the market. It is a matter of building that business. And if you want to do it, you have to be the best at what you do, which means the people who are running these industries are thinking deep about, if I'm a customer, what is my experience? What do I want? How will I approach this? And why would I pay so much money? What will bring me to this particular place to pay that kind of money? I think that thinking is what brought us all to this evolution. And that also brought us into these chatbots and giving that instant responses and getting us to the board to say, like I said, I myself mentioned, I didn't have to visit a bank for the last 10 years, which is a good experience for me because I don't care if my branch is in some other part of India,
Yes.
right? I'm still getting my work done. That's the experience that everybody's getting because of it. I
Ma'am,
hope I answered your question because I
absolutely.
did too much talking.
I'm talking about banking and pharma. When we talk to a lot of the startups who are building, in this space, they say it's a very tough nut to crack because a lot of the people are not open to innovations. There's a lot of legacy systems in place. So, as per your experience, like how can these sort of organizations promote more co-innovation or working with the new age startups who are building something in this space? How can that be done?
I think, trust me, I have worked with two ICCs who came to India, and I've been the first 500 with both of them. So it technically was a startup for me in both cases. So I can tell you point to point how we built that.
Yeah.
Right. Most of the, I mean, when you're trying to crack as a new entrant to the market, it's a different scenario. When you're trying to crack as an ICC, it's a different scenario. So I'm going to skip that part. For a startup specifically, I think the first thing is find your niche USP, right? That is why you're building something. Don't let that go because that is what will keep your brain going, sailboat going. Keeping that USP in mind, do not try to capture 100% of the market overnight. You will not be able to. Build small. Build in your first circle. You came up with this idea because of somebody's probably support or understanding of that market. So try to work with them with the first circle. Once you build that first circle, your word of mouth increases. It is not about, like, for instance, if you're trying to build a new pharma startup, yes, the doctors will say, why should I use this? I'm already doing with another company. They are paying me so much commission for it. So that for them, it's a commission game, right? But in your first circle of doctors, explain to them the benefits and tell them that the commission is not an overnight game in this space at this point, but look at it as this benefit, right? So you will have to give them some piece of benefit. So you'll have to have a very strong VC backing to make sure that your money doesn't run out while you build that market for yourself.
Right.
Primarily. So you'll have to have your game in the long haul to make sure that the first few rounds of your word of mouth building and market space building is about getting the first circle of your market.
Yes.
And then go on into your large scale where you start promoting it on the internet, get digital marketing involved. All that comes secondary. What people forget is that if I don't have my first circle captured and I go directly into digital marketing and put 70% of my money in that, I'll
Yes.
probably become an overnight king. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to finish your first circle. Once the first circle is done and then you do digital marketing, it's like taking that step by step progression into the space. And coming into the market in this day and age is a double advantage because everybody understands the technology that could add value to their current position. It's about how you sell that product. That's primary, right? If I am trying to, like I mentioned, jaw surgery through AI, if I'm trying to build an app for it and telling that there are very few facial-muscular surgeons, if you look at in the country. So you'll have to capture that first circle. Go on to those conferences and say, this is what I built. Give me feedback. Tell me what I can do to improve it. Don't go with the idea of selling. Go with the idea of receiving feedback. Once you have test cases, once you have feedback from some of these guys, then you understand what small change. They would be your first round of test subjects to see if it is working or not working. They can tell you if you need a VC or not, or is it a dud game, right? So you have to build it based on what you want at the end of the day and what is it that you're bringing to the table. And you should always have a 60% on share of the table of what you're bringing. So 40% must be marketing.
Yes.
If it's reverse, then it's not going to work. It's just going to drink money. That's something I honestly see from the way things work and don't work in the long run. So this is my observations.
Very
I could be
insightful.
somebody could be very lucky also. I don't know.
This is very insightful because this will help a lot of startups, be on the right direction,
Yeah.
even after raising VC funds. Now I will kind of, pick your mind on cybersecurity because cybersecurity, ransomware, data breaches, they are like kind of detrimental for industries like pharma and BFSI. So what are those proactive security measures and architectural choices that you have found useful, to make sure that to ensure the continuity of these critical applications?
Well, when we started, cybersecurity was just a group of 3 people for the entire organization. So I know what that feels like when you get into a bank and you're like, what? So, yeah, I understand that. But I think the first thing that we need to understand is how much of the architecture does the cyber team understand? Do you have a solution architect from the cybersecurity mindset sitting among you to understand the enterprise landscape itself? How connected is the enterprise landscape? First, if the enterprise, and if you look at large banks, not all of the enterprise landscape is connected to one another. They're basically just still Excel data sharing within the organization. I'm being brutally honest here. It's not really one-to-one connected directly, which is first step of saying that it can be implemented without breaking a lot of things.
Yes.
Then we bring in the DevOps guys. Then we ask the DevOps guys, tell me, where am I vulnerable? How am I vulnerable? Before getting into the details of that, you first check what are the vulnerability checks that exist today, who is checking it, how many certificates that go off when you're talking about your interaction with the rest of the world, who is making sure that they don't lose or expire. Are you verifying their expiry and renewing them on time? Because even one wrong certificate and an open port can cost the bank a lot or a pharma a lot, right? So that team has to first be made robust, given the right levels of access, provided the right level of support to understand the infrastructure that exists. Then we talk about the access management team, which comes next, which will look at who has access, how much access, why do they need it, how long do they need it? Especially when we're talking about large organizations who are dealing with outsiders like a third party vendor who's dealing with their IP most often. Do they really need this access for this long, or is that a short lived access? Those kind of details are definitely very important. Then we look at, which is again the role based access, the access management team. And then we talk about how we can implement DevOps to do continuous integration and implementation. That is one other area where you understand, yes, this area is vulnerable. Why is it vulnerable? Is it because of a legacy system? If it's because of a legacy system, how do I transform it to a newer system with cybersecurity norms? Which means a cybersecurity solution architect is telling you these are the norms. That is the purpose of that guy also sitting at the table to say, this is the entire system. These are the basics that we need to have in place, and this is how we implement. So it can be done in different ways. The approach can all be different, but it completely depends on, again, your risk appetite. Like if I go big bang, do I have the risk appetite to face the consequences? How big is the impact? Is the customer going to be impacted or only internal people are impacted? So there's a lot of pros and cons there. Then you have the phased approach where you say, okay, let's isolate the system, fix it, and then put it back for this period of time. We know it's definitely downtime, like the Christmas period where most organizations use. Then you have a very rich organization which will say, I will build one entire system in the background. Once that is built, I'll switch this off and then move there. Blue-green method that is there. So it is all based on how the organization wants to approach it, because these are not overnight decisions and solutions. And it also is dependent on the technology and the end user game in this both these industries, which will tell us what is the approach that will work for that space. It's very situation dependent. But these are some of the definite approaches that we have already used and worked on.
This is nice, ma'am. This is very nicely explained, and this is very much insightful for me as well, because I learned the entire structure. And I must say that you have to be a professor in some college because you explained it very well.
I have been told I teach well. Thank you very much. No, I think when I'm trying to explain something, I want to make sure that the other person really gets it, because I don't want to speak technology terms that nobody will understand.
Yes, yes.
I'm very clear on that.
Ma'am,
Definitely.
that is one of the problems of most of the technology leaders, which you don't have.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
Ma'am, there are a lot of AI tools also coming into cybersecurity. Would you like to touch upon a few use cases there?
I think every organization has been very smart in approaching that. What they do is the AI tool that fits their organization, they pick it up, they customize it to their organizational needs, they put in the correct norms that work for them, especially global organizations I'm talking about. Smaller ones definitely use the open stream ones. What happens in the larger organizations is they would approach, for example, both my previous organizations, they approached Microsoft and I said, I want a specific version sitting with my teams to help my team fix whatever they ask questions about. And the network is closed within me, within the organization to provide the data, but it must be AI generated. So, which means that the data pool is large enough to provide the output, but it doesn't leave the organization's network to prevent data breaches. So that is one thing that I have seen works. I think the other example there again is Copilot, which I think everybody is aware of. Copilot also comes in two versions, one where the organization has tweaked it for its needs. It's like any tool you buy, right? I mean, even ServiceNow or a Workday is integrated to the organization setup, and it's very limited to the organizational needs. So it is tweaked and access managed as per the organization's requirements completely. And they help because there are some people who definitely use it for writing emails. They start from there, and there are some people who use it for fixing bugs. So it is very useful in the long run. But personally, for me, I don't depend on AI because it is killing my creativity and my vocabulary. So I'd rather use my own brains. So I'm a little, AI averse in that one respect. I use it for research or data mining, but I won't use it for my base skills. I want to keep my creative side open. So yeah.
No, absolutely. I think, last 2, 3, I think 1 year when, till the point that I was started using ChatGPT and all, my creativity has also taken a big hit.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I did not like the output that I got from ChatGPT when I did that a couple of times. I thought I wrote better
Yes.
because for me the idea has to be conveyed concise and properly. And ChatGPT is flowering the language to probably give its point of view, which changes my point of view. So that's why I couldn't connect with the output most of the time, at least from.
Yeah, absolutely. You are right, ma'am. Ma'am, now my last question to you is that you have scaled teams from 100 to 600 plus and managed global rollouts. What leadership pattern or cultural enablers have you found critical for delivering these large scale transformation projects?
Like I said, I've had the fortunate opportunity to work with some of the best of the best. Think I owe it to leaders who helped me build this version of me. The only reason I was, in fact, I say I thought I was incapable of all of this personally, but people showed a lot of trust in me to say you can do it, and I owe it to them for getting this done. The I think the common factor in all of them is the people I worked with. That's what it'll boil down to. When I was hiring as well, and I still am looking at hiring as well, my focus has always been the person and their skills, yes, but the person and their will. When I say that, what I mean is if I'm looking at a 4-year-old experience or a 14-year-old experienced person, my intent is to identify if they are willing to still learn or are they,
Yes.
are they closed minded to any approach to whatever you put them in the situation. Like I like putting situational questions. And when I do, if I'm hearing a response that is more about, no, this is how I did it because this is what I was taught, then that person is not open to learning. It's a very closed minded approach to anything. So I cannot put that person with a group of people I chose to open mindedly work with us, right? That is one approach that definitely works for me. And because of that, I think I've had the opportunity to work with really nice people who have. I have worked with people who are writers, I've worked with people who are painters. Their personal life also, they keep a good balance. And that helps me understand this person is willing to go the extra mile to keep their hobbies active, which means they will go an extra mile to make the effort to fix things if it's broken.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
So
Nice
certain
question.
aspects of that individual,
Yes. That's such a nice.
certain aspects of that human being you can tell.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I like putting investing in such people. Yes, they might not know exactly what the role skills are, but that's fine. At least they'll come with the idea of open-mindedness to say, I don't know this, but I will learn. And yes, I have also hired people with low on confidence. It didn't matter to me because I know that just because they're low on confidence doesn't mean they don't know the job. They just are afraid to speak about it. So I prefer giving them the space. I am terrible at micromanaging because I have my own stuff to manage. So it doesn't work for me, which is probably why most of my ex team members and even today my current team members say it's very easy to work with you. I don't know. That's the feedback I've been given.
Mm.
And yeah, as I said, it's about the people. It's always been about the people. And if I am a good leader today, it's because they are good people. That's all I would say.
And they're good people because you're a good leader. Vice versa is also true.
I've been able to be because of them, that's how I give them credit. I won't take the credit. Definitely not.
Absolutely, ma'am. I seriously hope there are more leaders like you inside India.
There are. I've learned from them. So they exist. I promise.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. I think this session was very insightful. We touched upon a lot of technology as well as people concepts as well. And we'll stay in touch with you, ma'am. And we'll look forward to hosting you again and again to discuss on various topics. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful talking to you as well. And yes, if you were sitting on a panel with me for hiring, I would have hired you. You are a very open-minded person, which is good. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I will be in touch, ma'am. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Have a good day.